Welcome to a new edition of South Sound Business Report, where today we'll look at the future of economic activity in 5 South Sound counties. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Jeff Rouse. Thanks for being with us today. As 2012 wraps up and we move into 2013, there are many areas of our state where the economy is, relatively speaking, booming. Around the metropolitan areas, Seattle, King County in particular. And yet there's other areas further away from the metropolitan centers where folks are still waiting for what other people are saying is already here, that economic recovery. On today's program, we'll be at an economic event where 5 separate counties came together. That would be counties surrounding the state capital of Olympia, down south through the Centralia-Chehalis area and over to the Pacific. These 5 counties organized a 2nd annual Regional Economic Forecast and Innovation Expo event at Great Wolf Lodge. Leaders of business, government, and their communities, brought together by their respective Economic Development Council organizations, and our South Sound Business Report cameras were there.
This is Matayoshi, Executive Director of the Mason County EDC. Let's start with how Mason County is doing 2012 compared to 2011. What is one of your biggest successes that you've had industry-wide?
Well, Holly, first off, I think we've turned the corner. Our economy and our unemployment rate is dipped below 10%, so we're seeing job growth, solid job growth, and that's a big move forward for us this past year, and that's something we're really excited about.
I think you said 9.8%?
Yeah, exactly.
And which industries are helping out with that unemployment drop?
Well, we're seeing a number of things. So obviously the larger employers, forest products, traditional companies that make up largest part of our manufacturing sector, they're coming back, as well as the smaller employers. We have Mask, a medical device manufacturer. We have a test probe manufacturer that manufactures test probes for the medical industry. And so we're seeing a number of things where it may be 2 or 3 employees here, and then maybe 15 from a larger employer. But it's one by one. We're adding jobs, and so we're moving in a positive direction. So
we know that forestry is huge in Mason County. Healthcare is becoming huge. How is shellfish doing?
Shellfish has done great the last few years, and particularly has been unaffected by our economy. Literally all the product that they're able to grow and harvest is sold and or exported, a lot of it overseas to Asian markets in particular. Geoduck being the largest product, not only the product to begin with, but also the largest export.
And you've got more than one shellfish manufacturer there too.
Yeah, we have a number of growers. There's Seattle Shellfish. Taylor United is the largest. They employ over 350 people, and we have a number of we call mom and pop shops where you have families growing and have grown for generations.
And that partners with the restaurant industry in other areas as well. Now, the tribe, the Squaxin Island tribe specifically, is another economic driver. What are they doing now, and where will they be going in the next year?
Yeah, so the Squaxin Island tribe is really a remarkable tribe to work with. They've grown quite a bit. Looking back at their growth, they started out and built a hotel, and then a casino, then most recently a golf course. They have a manufacturing facility, and they're actually our largest employer at over 650 employees.
So we've got unemployment falling and some small business growth. How do you think people outside of Mason County and in Mason County see the business community there?
Well, I think we see that what I'm hearing, the feedback that I'm getting is that there's growth opportunities there. Mason County has a lot of waterfront, a lot of available property for commercial development. We're seeing infrastructure investment made by municipal government with water, sewer, those basic things. And then we have a large telecom pipe having access to a fiber optic network.
I think for Mason County too, a lot of people think of it as just being Shelton, but it goes all the way up to Belfair. Do you have different goals coming up for 2013 economically for those 2 areas?
Yeah, so Belfair has a larger connection with Central Puget Sound, and Shelton has a larger connection coming back to the South Sound. So we work with and have board representation from both ends of our county, as well as Hoodsport on the other side of the water, to ensure that we're meeting their needs and finding opportunities for commercial development in all areas, commercial and industrial development.
Well, looking ahead, 2013 and beyond, what is going to be the one main theme for Mason County? What are you looking to do?
So I think the main thing for us is continued diversification, adding jobs, supporting entrepreneurs, and then recruiting those companies that we can be most competitive in attracting, which is in the area of companies that are dependent on IT and telecom with our ubiquitous fiber optic connection.
Okay, well, Matt, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Driving west from Shelton and Mason County, we enter Grays Harbor County, an area that's been really hard hit over a number of years by industrial sector changes. Jobs have been lost in the woods and the mills, and more displacements from other industry sectors. But Tim Gibbs and the Grays Harbor Group, which is a consolidated organization of economic development and all those chambers of commerce, the ports and those sorts of things, you say there's good news now in Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and the surrounding county.
I think there's probably been some good news mixed in all along the way, but we certainly have some momentum. Our economy, there's no doubt that it's been troubled in the past, and it's been a painful transition. It's been a natural resource-based economy, and while it still is, there's new attributes to the economy and new growth going on that gives us a lot of reason to be very optimistic.
How would you describe the business climate today? Not the last 10 years, but today.
It's different, actually. That's the best way to describe it. It's still challenging for our local businesses. We've lost a lot of employment, but mostly on the onesies and twosies level. In the last 2 years, we've had 3 mills reopen. So almost all of the major employers that have shut down in Grays Harbor, they're back open. We've created 450 new industrial jobs in Grays Harbor. Cosmo Specialty Fiber, Harbor Paper, Hoquiam Plywood are just examples of the big companies that have opened back up. And it's because they found new ways to sell their products in new markets. So we've done the big things. We're working on the smaller things as well, because we need the rising tides. We need the small business to feel the love, to feel the growth that's going on. We need the retail sector. We need to build upon the tourist sector. We need all of those things, but the pieces are coming together.
So you've described what I would guess would be the biggest successes and the biggest accomplishments in the last 12 to 15 months.
Yeah, I think so. But more than that, I think we found our way. We found our forte. We found that what we have competitive advantages in and how we can build this new economy. And that, to me, that's the successes. The end results is the fact that we've had the growth in our core industries, and we've also had new industries that have been popping up. But it's because we've found our way and found our competitive advantage of it as a community.
We're at the beginning of a new year. What is your ambition? What will be your most important goal or plan for 2013?
Well, a lot of economic development is things that you planted the seeds, and now they have time to germinate and pop up. I've got new projects. I've got new growth that's going to happen this next year, but it doesn't come overnight. Some of these projects I've been working on for a year and a half, to the point that we're getting ready to stick the shovel in the ground, so to speak. But it all is built on partnerships. We found our way that we have a regional strength, especially when you're talking about the eastern part of our county. We have a 1,700-acre industrial park at Satsett Business Park. That park is equal distance to Olympia as it is Aberdeen. So shame on us if we don't build on the fortes of that park. We only have 70,000 people in Grays Harbor County, but within 30 miles of Satsett Business Park, 323,000 people, 209,000 workers. So we found our competitive advantage of the blue collar, the white collar, and the economy of scale where we can compete in marketing that facility. We just had to build the regional partnerships for all stand to have positive change come out of it. So that's one of the examples of how we're going forward.
You know, the great thing about Grays Harbor area, it is accessible to the freeway system, to the interstate highway system by a 4-lane road. That's kind of unique. And there's two distinct rail lines. How are those being used?
Well, I mean, the growth in the railroad has been exponential. There's no doubt about that. And you mentioned that it is the only 4-lane highway from I-5 to the coast north of San Francisco. And the highway runs about 37% of capacity as well. So when we're talking about clients...
Other than a holiday weekend.
Well, even clam dig, okay, something like that. When we're talking about clients, quite often we have to kind of instill the thought of drive time versus mileage.
Right.
You know, the commute from Lacey or Olympia into Satsop is you're not going to get too many gray hairs doing that, rather than trying to go up 10 miles up I-5 during rush hour.
Absolutely. Great story out of Grays Harbor County. Thank you, Tim Gibbs. Holly?
One purpose of this 5-county economic development event is not only to celebrate business success, but also to show that there are clear bridges between business growth and government agencies. Also, as each individual county works towards business and job growth of its own, they understand the need for strength of the region's economy as a whole. Jeff's next guest, as we make our counterclockwise economic travels around the region, takes us from Grays Harbor to Pacific County.
Cathy Russ has been in the Raymond, Washington area for 18 years, she told me, and has been with the Economic Development Council for about 10. So you know what's going on out there, don't you?
I would like to think so.
How would you describe the business climate in Pacific County, which is Raymond, South Bend, and Ilwaco, Long Beach, the whole area?
Yes.
What's the climate like?
It's been a little difficult the last couple of years, but I think we're starting to see the upward trend, and I think we're pretty excited about it. It's difficult. We have our ups and downs with the commercial businesses, but I think we're starting to see when a business leaves, we have a new business coming in a lot sooner. So I think there's opportunity and excitement going on.
Here we are at the end of one calendar year, starting to look at the next one. Tell me about the most positive accomplishment, your biggest success for 2012.
I think what it was, when I became director for the EDC, I really engaged our board in strategic planning. So we have really been looking at and taking steps. And one of the processes was this target cluster study that was recently done. We did a target cluster study back in 2003.
Which describes what?
We looked at our specific industries, what were our strengths within our county, and how to embellish those, how to move forward with business attraction, startups, or expansion.
Kind of looking at the existing businesses, but also the jobs that they have?
Right, and how they overlap, how we can maybe bring them together and look at a market of sharing maybe items and making it more a cooperative effort in buying, looking at it as a whole and trying to, I guess, free up some of their monies and maybe working with others.
So you must have a great new accumulated data set about what is and where it's happening.
Yes, we do. And again, I think that was out of this cluster study that we had access to the MZ tool, which is a great tool for us to look what's happened in the past and yet to be able to look at what is projected for the future.
Does that describe your work plan for 2013 then?
Yes, it became a very strong part of that. We're going to be, again, looking at our target industries, whether it be timber, IT, food processing, many of those. We're going to look at it and see how we can help them either expand in the future or get them more efficient in their operations.
Pacific County, in part because of its relative isolation, has been one of the areas that has suffered the most in employment and actually even in population, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
It was, again, when Pacific County was founded, it was based on our natural resources. So the timber industry was a huge market and for growth there. And over the last couple of years with the decline in the timber industry due to the housing market, we've seen a drop off. Our population hasn't been increasing, so we're really looking at how we diversify our economy and bring in new industries.
And the folks who are there love being there. So your challenge is to make it economically viable for them to be residents.
Yes, and that's a challenge because you're right. They love being in there because it is the way it is. And I always try to engage them in conversation because I want them to be part of the future. And how do we grow it and how do we develop it, yet maintain the quality of life that the residents would like to have.
Thank you very much, Cathy Russ.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
East of Pacific County, back to the I-5 corridor, from PL in the west to Packwood on Mount Rainier, we have Lewis County. And here representing the Economic Development Council is Executive Director Dick Larman. So let's begin by talking about the economy. How was it in 2012 compared to 2011?
2012 was a considerably better economy in Lewis County than it was in 2011 for several reasons. One, the building economy did pick up some for one of our major industries, the wood products. Food continues to be something that's very important to people. We have a good number of food production companies in Lewis County as well. And we picked up some new manufacturers. One that's related to the coastal industries. We have a company that makes netting where the oysters and clams grow, and the netting protects them from predators and all of that. Another company that builds scaffolding planking, which is an incredible industry. You just think they're planks. They're not. They're very, very specific worldwide about building codes, about how those planks have to be stored, shipped, numbered, inventoried and all.
I'm sorry, well, I think you said that forestry was a big industry down there.
I did.
And I think, did you say that it was you're the #1 county for forestry in the region?
I did.
Okay, so that goes perfectly with that.
It does, yeah. There's wood products, and the addition of new wood products companies is good. Ritchie Brothers, one of the larger auction companies in the world for heavy equipment, relocated to a 200-acre site. And they needed to expand. They had been just north of us on a smaller site and needed larger. They began operations in 2012 as well. And last, Corsicana Bedding from out of Corsicana, Texas, bought one of the last vacant inventoried or vacant industrial buildings we had available. So our inventory is shrinking for industrial buildings, which means we're going to need to start building soon.
That's good.
For our next projects. The Port of Centralia has a very, very exciting new project that'll be happening in Centralia right on I-5, about 50 acres of new development.
And that's Centralia Station?
And it's called Centralia Station, and you may have saw some press about that already. So we're excited about that. The Port of Chehalis has picked up one more vacant building and are busy marketing it. So we're feeling pretty good on the I-5 corridor in Lewis County of new projects. Some of our smaller manufacturers east and west are holding their own and getting some new orders, so they're increasing their productivity as well.
And you said the unemployment rate is also looking better than it has been.
Yeah, our unemployment rate early 2011 was nearly actually a little over 15% for 2 months, and we're down to 11 at this point. So there's good movement that direction. We're pretty happy. The Centralia College has the highest enrollment it's had 2 years running.
That's
keeps
fantastic.
Increasing record enrollments. So.
Well, there's something related to Centralia College that also has potential. You talked about the tourism and the sports in particular that Lewis County is working on.
Yeah, actually there's a public facility district working with the City of Centralia, Centralia Schools, and a private company. And their job, they've taken on being Sports Northwest. Especially for baseball, indoor, outdoor.
Big tournament down there.
Big tournaments in the summertime, huge tournaments. And so part of the Centralia Station project and the Centralia College is extending some soccer fields so that the college can hopefully field a women's soccer team. So it'll be fun.
And let's just talk about the future goal. #1, what's Lewis County, what do you have in mind for the next year?
We are still working 65 leads from last year's trade shows that mirror our gaps in our economy of things we have to import in order to manufacture the things we have. We'd rather have them closer together, and I think as transportation costs are what they are, that will happen. We're particularly excited about revitalizing some of our agricultural heritage. We used to grow lots of grains and hops and all of that. So we're back at trying to figure out how that works as well, because there are, as we grow micro brew pubs and micro distillers and more wineries, it's those things are important. So we're working that as well.
All right, well, Dick Larman, thanks for sharing and giving us a glimpse of the future in Lewis County.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The largest of the 5 counties in this Regional Economic Forecast and Innovation Expo is Thurston County, with Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater, plus Yelm. Michael Cade is Executive Director of the Economic Development Council here.
When you think about the employment that's, or wages that is attached to state government, 10 years ago, we were over 50% was attached directly to state government. That's 43-ish% now. And that's not necessarily because state government has retrenched. It's held, if you look at the numbers, it's actually held pretty stable. What it also speaks to is the diversification of the local economy. We have changed the wage pattern of Thurston County. Certainly the state is a big driver in wages, but boy, I tell you, we've done a pretty good job in that manufacturing, distribution, as well as information services.
So you would say that the recovery might be the best accomplishment, generally speaking, from the year that we're ending, 2012?
I would concur with that. Absolutely.
Year ahead, what's the most important goal or plan for this county?
Yeah, we are certainly looking at ways to keep that diversification going forward. And we recognize that our strengths, we're going to play to our strengths. Healthcare is certainly one of the larger private sector employers. We're going to certainly continue to play towards that healthcare sector, make sure that they're supported. Workforce, a variety of different issues. The other issue is that we want to focus pretty strongly on JBLM. The Joint Base Lewis-McChord is a significant piece of our local market, local economy, retail, employment. There's a variety of things whole litany of things we can go after. But what we're starting to notice is that companies are taking advantage of that installation, taking advantage of the market. Some of my caseload is directly attributed to folks that want to be located near the JBLM. So it's new cases, but it's also as diversification of the government contracting opportunities.
And whatever happens with the federal budget, it's not likely that JBLM is going to, well, we know it won't disappear. There's too much need. It's invested. There might be an impact. It might be reduced, but it's still magnitudes larger than it used to be.
Absolutely. Magnitudes larger is a good way to put it. JBLM is not your father's JBLM. It's changed pretty dramatically. If you cut it out by itself, if it's by its own demographic, it's one of the largest economies and largest cities in Washington State. It's a pretty significant driver. There's a lot of things going on there. The initiatives that the base has made very public, zero waste stream, very sustainable. Those are business opportunities that will be driven by the private sector. The private sector will provide those services and those other activities. So that will be the private sector driven contribution to that base. And we certainly see an opportunity there.
Michael, we've had the opportunity to ask a similar question to all of the other counties in today's program. How would you think business is perceived by the general citizens who reside in Thurston County?
Well, it's interesting. We just went through a pretty extensive confidence survey with local residents. We do a statistical sample, Thurston County residents. We survey every quarter, no less than 835 citizens, plus or 5 error factor. And actually people are feeling pretty good about the local economy. One of the questions we ask them is, if you lose your job today, how confident are you in feeling to replace that job in 6 months? This is the first time we've asked that question in 3 years that the overwhelming response has been positive.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I think the people, the residents of Thurston County, the consumers, the people that do the living, the breathing, the dying of Thurston County feel like the economy, at least in the South Sound market, has turned. Not everywhere, but at least in the South Sound market has turned. And there's unique opportunities for them to take advantage of.
Thank you very much, Michael Cade,
you.
and congratulations on another successful event.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We have links to our guests on the Business Examiner Media Group website, businessexaminer.com/SSBR. We thank you for being on this tour of the region with us. And thanks to Mobility Media Design for its production help on this program. We'll be back next week with another episode of South Sound Business Report, and we invite you to join us. Tune in, same time, same channel.